you feel like you've been approaching dating with a checklist of wants and needs of what you want in a partner?
Of course.
What if there was a more profound way to connect and understand what you want in your potential partner?
That is exciting.
This is a must-watch video for any of you dating, and even of those of you who are struggling in your relationship. I'm going to talk about one of the most important things to be aware of when you're dating, and this is something that many don't consider.
Tell me.
I was working with a woman. I would say she was a mix of sophisticated and she had a bit of a wild side. She has a very successful career. She's not easily intimidated. She was kind and thoughtful. As we moved through our counseling session, she was sharing with me that the man she was living with checked all her boxes. He was everything that she wanted in a person.
He's perfect.
He was funny, he was kind, he was smart, seemed like the perfect guy, and yet she couldn't understand why she was so unhappy.
I am acutely aware of how completely and totally unhappy I am.
I will share with you why she was so unhappy, but let me say this first. Every individual stepping into their dating scene comes with their own unique set of desires, needs, and expectations. People often have a checklist, like I said, of what they want in a person. Someone who has a sense of humor, who's adventurous, who is kind. I could go on and on with the checklist. It shapes the choices we make in pursuit of a romantic partner. However, when it comes to creating a successful, long-lasting relationship, there's a necessity to move beyond simply identifying what we want in a partner. Equally, if not more important, and this is the tip that I'm going to talk a whole lot more about, more important is understanding how a person functions relationally.
Wow. See, now why didn't I think of that?
That does not tend to be on our checklist. How do they interact? How do they communicate? Do they compromise? How do they engage in conflict? That is super important. And how do they express love? The person that I mentioned, and I'm going to change some of this due to confidentiality, chose someone who she met through a mutual hobby. She was drawn also to his appearance, his ambition, sense of humor, and their shared passion for art. He was similarly attracted to her intelligence, kindness, creativity. On paper, they seemed like a perfect match, with numerous qualities that each of them found appealing in one another. And the beginning of their relationship was filled with excitement, as it often is. They enjoyed each other's company, attended art exhibitions together, shared exciting conversations about their interests. Everything seemed wonderful. And as time passed and they entered a more committed phase of their relationship, they decided to move in together. And soon after, some relational issues began to surface. She is a direct communicator. She likes to address issues head on, while he tends to avoid conflict, often shutting down during disagreements. He would often tell her that she was right and that he would change certain things that she would bring to the table, but he never did anything that he agreed to do.
I've developed my whole persona around conflict avoidance.
Come on.
She would tell me that he would say all the right things when she would go to him with things that upset her, but nothing changed. And this sadly led to more and more disconnection. So, despite having individual qualities that they were attracted to each other, their relationship became disconnected due to their incompatible relational styles. They didn't explore or understand how they dealt with conflict, how they communicated, and what their expectations were relationally. If they had paid attention to these relational aspects from the beginning, they might have been able to recognize these differences and work on them, or perhaps realize that they were not as compatible as they initially thought. So this example illustrates the importance of looking beyond individual qualities when choosing a partner. Understanding how a person functions within a relationship, including, like I said, their communication style, their conflict resolution skills, their emotional needs, can be pivotal in creating a lasting, healthy connection. So the question is, how do we look for relational compatibility when dating? By the way, if you're enjoying this video, consider subscribing so you can invest in a thriving, healthy relationship. It's my goal to bring relational content to you to help you grow your relationship. So what do we look for relationally in a healthy individual? Here are a few things to consider. Effective communication. Here's a red flag. Your date often makes vague statements, avoids direct answers.
Why don't you answer me?
Or changes the subject when you ask them about their personal life or their past. For example, so when Lisa asked Jim about his past relationships, which is some point important to talk about, he deflects with comments like, "Oh, it's complicated," or, "Well, why dwell on the past?"
Let's not dwell on the past.
It is so important to know what someone has learned from a previous relationship. And if they don't want to talk about it, I don't know. I mean, there could be many reasons, but perhaps they didn't learn anything.
Everyone does have a past they can learn from.
So conflict resolution, another red flag. So when you're in disagreement or facing an opposing opinion, your date responds with sarcasm, makes fun of you, belittles comments instead of discussing the matter maturely.
Stop making fun of me.
Here's an example. When Mark expresses his dislike for a particular movie genre that Nicole loves, she sarcastically says, "Well, I guess some of us have better taste." Now, I am not suggesting that sarcasm is wrong, but I think it's important to try to recognize and understand if this person is open to disagreement. If they always address disagreement with sarcasm, that's a red flag. So another thing to look for is empathy and understanding. So here's a red flag. Your date seems disinterested when you share personal stories or struggles, and the conversation quickly turns back to themselves.
Do you really have no empathy whatsoever?
So for example, Jake shares a challenging experience that he had at work, and Emma responds with, "That reminds me of an even crazier thing that happened to me," without acknowledging Jake's feelings. Now, to some degree, we are all capable of doing that. But if it's a constant thing that happens, that's a red flag. Another is respect for boundaries. So, red flag. Your date pushes for more intimacy or personal information than you're comfortable with, even after you've expressed your boundaries.
Well, it means a lot to me that you would go through all this to respect my boundaries.
So here's an example. Despite Laura telling Brian she's not ready to be intimate, he consistently makes advances and comments about her decision in trying to pressure her to change her mind. If that persists and your boundaries are not respected, that is an immediate red flag. Here's a big one, shared responsibility. So, red flag. When you're planning dates or, wherever you're going, an outing or something like that, your date leaves all the decision making to you or takes complete control without considering your input. So, for example, Ethan and Sophia plan to go out. Ethan says, "You decide, I'll go wherever," putting all the responsibility on Sophia. Or Ethan might always decide where to go without asking Sophia for her opinion. So that is a big imbalance in mutuality and sharing decisions together. And believe me, as you go through life together, there will be an enormous amount of shared decision making. So you want to get a feel from the beginning how the two of you handle shared decision making.
I can't do it by myself.
And these red flags during dating are early indications of potential challenges in a future relationship. And while everyone can make mistakes or have off moments, consistently observing these behaviors might suggest deeper relational issues that could persist and get worse over time. So while having personal preferences in a partner is natural and essential, it's also essential to remember that relationships are not static. They evolve over time. They're shaped by interactions and experiences and shared history between two individuals. So the focus should not be on finding someone who fits your checklist perfectly, but rather finding someone with whom you can grow, both as an individual and as a couple. So remember, the importance of taking a relational perspective in dating cannot be overstressed. As much as you look for qualities you desire in a partner, it's equally important to explore how they function in a relationship context. And by doing so, you're not only setting the groundwork for a more fulfilling relationship, but you're also investing in your own personal growth and development in the long run. So thank you so much for watching. Good luck on your dating journey. Please share any tips that you might have regarding dating and the concept of relational aspects when you're dating. I'm sure people reading the comments would love to hear your input. I'll see you soon.